As Neville Goddard taught, everyone is you pushed out, but not always from your conscious mind. Let's talk about it. I'm Brittany, hey, and it's super windy, that's why I got on my hoodie. Your manifesting mentor. I'm not a coach, I'm not a guru, but I'm a woman who walks the walk and who shares what works. So I recently watched a video that reminded me of one of Neville Goddard's most confronting teachings. Everyone is you pushed out. And as I reflected on that, I realized how important it is for us to zoom out of our circumstances, especially when it comes to people, and to ask better questions. Not, why are you doing this? But what am I assuming about this person? What am I assuming about my relationship to them? What am I assuming about this circumstance? What am I assuming about myself in this dynamic? Whenever I've slowed down to ask those questions honestly, I've often uncovered assumptions that I wasn't consciously aware of. Things rooted deep in the subconscious. Because here's the truth that a lot of people miss about the law of assumption. Most of what's creating your reality is not conscious. It's coming from your core beliefs about yourself, about people, about life. Sometimes the judgments that we hold about others are actually reflections of the judgments we hold about ourselves. If you unconsciously feel not enough, you may assume others don't hear you or value you. If you believe the world is unsafe, people may show up as threatening or unreliable. If you're operating from victimhood, you'll often see victimhood playing out around you. If you're rigid or self-righteous, you may encounter resistance everywhere you go. And here's the checkpoint that Neville Goddard invites us all to. What are you resisting about how this person or circumstance is showing up? Because resistance usually points to an assumption. And assumptions are simply beliefs that we've been rehearsing long enough that they feel like facts. Like Abraham Hicks teaches, a belief is just a thought you keep thinking until you convince yourself that it's true. So this creator that I listened to shared the perfect example. She said she felt unheard and frustrated while on a phone call. And instead of confronting the person externally, she changed her inner story. From, I'm not good enough to, I am enough. From, he's not listening to, he is present. And the moment her inner state shifted, the behavior of the person on the call reflected it. And no, it's not magic. It's the way consciousness works. Neville Goddard said, the world is consciousness objectified. So when you change the story within, the world has no choice but to respond. Sometimes instantly, and sometimes with a little persistence. And persistence is key. Because if you don't persist in new assumptions, you'll keep recreating from the old ones. So when something doesn't look the way you want it to look, don't rush to fix the person, and don't rush to blame yourself. Pause and ask yourself, what am I assuming here? What am I believing about myself? What am I rehearsing emotionally? And then revise. Revise the belief, revise the inner conversation, revise the version of the person that you're holding in your imagination. Listen, it doesn't have to make sense. Manifestation rarely does. Reality is far more fluid than we were taught. We move through states, timelines, and potentials all day long based on how we think and how we feel. As Neville Goddard said, if you will assume it and persist in that assumption, it will harden into fact. So start choosing assumptions rooted in your higher self. Choose stories aligned with your highest ideals. Learn to lift others and circumstances on high, and let the outer world catch up to your inner shift. So yeah, everyone is you pushed out. And when you shift your assumptions about possibility from the inside, the reflection in the mirror has no choice but to change. If you want to understand the science behind all of this, I read Dr. Joe Dispenza's Becoming Supernatural chapter by chapter on my YouTube channel. The playlist is linked in my bio, and it features my personal reflections and live replays. And if you want to read along, you can click this link right here to purchase your copy of the book. I don't know who needs to hear this, but this is your reminder, and you got this.